So, I watched Wish for the first time, and I'm still here afraid of getting struck by lightning because I think that very act is an affront to God himself. Well, just like the great minds of the past, I did it all in the name of science. I wanted to know if the movie was as bad as they say it is, and if the reason for that is the main villain of the film. And the answer to the latter question is, surprisingly, no. And the reason being is that this film didn't really have a villain. If you're not familiar with this movie, first off, I envy you, and second, I want to introduce to you the main antagonistic force shown to us. It's this man over here, Mr. Get a Girl with Daddy Issues, the King, Magnifico. Now, you may have seen him floating around on TikTok or your local shorts provider, mainly because his villain song is a sin on the earth and everyone rightfully dogpiled on it the minute it dropped. This character over here is confusing to me. He is marketed as the most intimidating villain we have ever seen in a Disney film, more tyrannical than Scar, more manipulative than Mother Gothel, more psychotic than Frollo. He was hyped up to be an equal or even greater than those pure evil classics. Take a guess if that actually was true. Because from the moment the movie started, I knew he will not live up to those standards, because Disney sat on the fence and didn't go all in on him being a villain. He is another tragic example of a sympathetic antagonist gone wrong. I want to be clear before we dive into Magnifico. Sympathetic villains aren't the problem, and yes, I said villains, let's not get into semantics here. In most cases, they become one of the most iconic characters talked about for ages to come. Here's an unrelated picture of Zuko on the screen. I love sympathetic villains as much as the next person. They provide so much complexity to the story, and they make the audience feel conflicted on who to root for. If you want to know more on my opinions regarding sympathetic villains, go check this out, and no, I will never let these videos die. In short, there are some qualities that need to be present in order for a sympathetic villain to land. First off, they should have redeemable qualities. Then, their motivation should also be justified. After that, their redemption should be earned, and once more, I'm going to put a picture of Zuko in a different angle over here. Now, that said, not all sympathetic villains get to have a redemption arc, and I know that. Not everyone deserves to be redeemed or even strive for redemption in the first place. But if you are going to make that kind of villain a twisted paragon that believes they are the hero of their own story, you better be damn sure you execute it perfectly. Go all in one avenue. Because if you skimp out on the qualities that make a sympathetic antagonist work and put some points in them being a somewhat evil, delusional villain, you get a confused, half-baked character that doesn't know what they want to be. And that is exactly what Magnifico is. A horrid amalgamation of a modern Disney twist antagonist that is sympathetic and a classic pure evil villain. Like Brooklyn and H.P. Lovecraft, they just don't mix. From the start, we are introduced to Magnifico as somewhat of a tragic character. As a young man, Magnifico believed in the power of wishes. He believed them to be the most important and most beautiful part of a person. We're also then told of the pain when those wishes don't come true, the pain of unattainability. So he sought power, magic, and he used the magic he learned to protect the wishes of other people. With this, he founded a kingdom, a really prosperous one, mind you, and to all his subjects, he lets them come to him for the safeguarding of their wishes, which is by casting it out of a person and making them forget about that wish, a burden to lift, as he put it. And then once a month, he selects a wish to grant. On the onset, this concept of him doesn't sound very villain-like. It's actually the opposite. He is offering something for his subjects, wishes they believe to be unattainable in the safekeeping of a king that shows compassion and generosity. And why wouldn't they believe that? Their kingdom is peaceful and booming. Everyone on the street is dancing, shops are set up, and the economy seems to be rising due to the number of visitors. No one even has a bad thing to say about Magnifico. In fact, it is the opposite. He is beloved, and the wish granting ceremony is treated as something to be celebrated. Because of that, people willingly go to Magnifico to surrender their wish. Nowhere in the story was it mentioned that it was something mandatory. Or maybe it is. I probably checked out after receiving brain damage from the damn songs. And if the interference from the story's main character, Asha, didn't happen, I would probably guess that the kingdom would remain as good as it was, or even better. How is this guy evil, you may ask? How is he to become an antagonist? He sounds too good to be true. Well, it's by giving him superficial flaws and making him crash out over a teenage girl. I can only give you a few examples of a good broken paragon. Characters that believe themselves to be the good, their morals so rigid that even in doing the extreme, they do not break from their beliefs. Injustice Superman is one and Akainu from One Piece is another, both believing themselves to be the justice of the world, that good must be achieved even with bloodied hands. What made them such compelling and interesting characters is the dilemma it gave to most readers. Akainu not so much, but some find Superman's method of keeping the world in check as something that is just. What separates these characters and what is lacking from Magnifico as a good broken paragon is that there are major flaws to the system they believe in. In the Injustice universe, the price of not following this system is either incarceration or being unalived. For Akainu, it's becoming a Krispy Kreme item. In Rosa, the kingdom of Magnifico, what is the price of not following this system? You get to still have your wish, I assume. Now, if I'm wrong about that, you most probably would just lose your citizenship. Now, if you give in to the system, what do you lose? Yeah, your greatest desire, but you kinda brought that upon yourselves. Magnifico isn't forcefully stealing your desires, you're basically just gambling them away for the chance of them becoming a reality. Some people say that the evil of this act is that you forget this desire, but then again, that is written on the contract. You know what you're getting into. So in the movie, the main point of conflict is that Magnifico thinks that some wishes are too dangerous to grant, that the vagueness of what they imply is too much of a risk for the kingdom. It is also hinted that a tragedy that happened in his youth is what gave him this paranoia. Hearing this, Asha thought it was unfair, and he questioned the king on why not just give the wish back to the person and let them try to attain it themselves. And to be honest with you, I found that kind of a weak motivation for everything that occurred in the movie. I'm not going to get into a heated argument on the morality of this representation of mild totalitarianism, but there is logic to what Magnifico is saying. He is just playing it safe for the betterment of his kingdom. And it's not like he's doing anything evil with their wishes. His main flaw is that he is too cautious. But we don't know the extent of these desires. I mean, sure, he is being stingy of granting Asha's grandfather the wish to inspire people with music, but I will bet a pretty penny that some of those desires are genuinely horrid, and that he is somewhat preserving the peace by removing those malicious desires. Believe me, I cannot fathom myself ever rooting for Magnifico, but after watching the movie, he genuinely doesn't even do anything evil. But the movie still needs an antagonist. So what do? They make him into this insecure, unstable, tantrum-throwing male Karen that buries any hope of having a nuanced character. In the hopes of appealing the crowd that are eager for the return of a classic pure evil villain, they turned this man who up to this point was doing an incredible job at maintaining a flourishing kingdom into a single-minded maniac that betrays everything he believed in. Midway, they wanted this villain to be sympathetic while also being pure evil in his actions. And in doing so, they made a character who is neither. He isn't a villain anymore, just a caricature, a Picasso piece, an amalgamation of something resembling a villain. In the story, after Magnifico dropped his villain song, the most egregious thing he has done throughout the film, he leaned into the villain role. He opened his forbidden grimoire of evil magic and decided that Asha's head should be on a pike. Why did I say evil in that way? Instead of leaning into the broken paragon / sympathetic antagonist side, they removed all trace of intelligence in his character. They missed the chance of him being a persuasive talker or hell even a manipulator, and instead, they made him into a bloodthirsty monster without a smooth transition. From being a somewhat generous king, he switched up to destroying wishes, which inflicts grief to the person who has that wish. So, midway through the movie, we basically got a one-dimensional villain. Now, to be clear, this isn't a bad thing. I am an advocate of one-dimensional pure evil villains. I made a full video on that, but the thing is, Magnifico was not built up to be a pure evil villain. He was not built up to have a single-minded goal. He was not built up to have a third act breakdown. Sure, he had narcissistic tendencies before he fully snapped, but it was so out of place for me. It came off as weak. So weak that when he transitions into the villain role, he did not have any aura. He was in crippling debt. This is the result of not knowing what you want out of a villain. Is he a broken paragon that has strong morals and beliefs? A sympathetic antagonist that only does what is good for the kingdom in his own way? Or a single-minded pure evil villain that does not care for anything other than himself? It was so confusing to me what to feel about Magnifico because he too was confused to what he actually wants to be. In the end, he was defeated in the most Disney way, forever trapped in his scepter after the people decided that what he was doing was wrong, making him accountable for the relatively comfortable life they were living. Disney made Magnifico crazy because they saw no other way for them to have a villain. And I'm absolutely devastated that they didn't put all their eggs into one basket. Imagine for a second a fully pure evil Magnifico gaining power and, let's just say, immortality for fun from the wishes of the people. He knows he is evil. He knows that he is not the hero of the story. Imagine the diabolical two-faced king. Imagine the classic one-liners and the menacing aura he would have. That would make Asha's conspiracy hold more weight, and in turn making her into an even better character. Even better is making her into a somewhat character. Now imagine this utopia where they leaned into having a sympathetic villain. Magnifico, the protector of wishes, gets challenged by Asha. But instead of responding immediately with violence and ooga booga, he has this battle of morality and maybe an underhanded tactic here and there. Magnifico, having been put on the ropes by Asha, resorts into consulting forbidden magic. But this book unleashes evil from the acquired wishes of the people, gathering power from the possible ill will those desires can have, controlling Magnifico and making him do more and more unspeakable things. In the end, this accumulated power of wishes unleashes a monster, a dark desire, if you may, that corrupts people's wishes. And in order to defeat it, Asha convinces the king to see the error of his ways, and together they purify people's desires and use it to defeat the evil that has spawned, and redeeming him as a character. I'm just going off an idea. And the details aren't really thought out, but the main thing I want to say is that if he is going to be a sympathetic villain, give him something like this to at least justify making him into that archetype. Don't be afraid to get his wife, the queen, into the mix. Throw a little bit of realization here and there. Make him being a broken paragon meaningful. It would make both him and Asha, I guess, a lot better. Magnifico had so much going for him. Chris Pines' performance was amazing. It's just sad that what he had to work with is a confusing character that has, to me, one of the worst aura, the worst dialogue, the worst story, and all in all, just a tragedy of characterization. I still hope Disney can recover from this and deliver another classic villain in the future. Not this, not Magnifico. To be honest, they should have made this insufferable asshole the main villain instead, and he would have done a better job. But yeah, that's all the gap that I have for now. So please do subscribe, like the video, and I'll see you in the next video, which I don't know when it will be releasing. So yeah, see ya.